The large meeting room fell silent. Commander Jake Morrison stood straight in his clean uniform. He had traveled for 3 months through space to reach this place. Around him, aliens from many different worlds watched him. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. The Vraxian ambassador was huge. It looked like a giant insect with a body made of crystal. It clicked its mouthparts. The translator in Jake's ear said the sound meant the alien did not respect him. The Vraxians were known across the galaxy as the best hunters. Their homeworld was full of poisonous plants and dangerous animals. They had taken over 17 star systems by fighting. Next to the Vraxian sat Ambassador Thel Nara from the Korthax people. She had 6 eyes that shined with smart thoughts. The Korthax were great at making plans and strategies. They had survived on a planet with 2 suns and lots of dangerous radiation. They only respected beings who were strong and clever. The Vraxian spoke first. Its voice came out as a hiss. The translator said the words clearly. "You claim to speak for Earth. We have looked at your world from space. Your sun gives weak light. Your gravity is not strong. Your air is thin. What can such a weak world give to this council?" Jake smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Ambassador, with respect, you do not know what Earth has made. You do not understand what humans can do." The council leader was called Coordinator Vesh. It was an ancient being made of pure energy. It glowed brighter with interest. "Then tell us, human, what makes your species worth our time?" Jake turned on his data screen. "Let me tell you about growing stronger through hard times. Your worlds are harsh, yes. But Earth? Earth has been testing life for 4 billion years. It has been like a fire that makes metal stronger." The screen showed Earth's history. Big disasters flashed across the display. Each one killed most of the life on the planet. But after each disaster, new life came back. It was stronger. It was faster. It could survive better. Jake continued talking. 5 major extinction events. Rocks from space crashed into Earth. Volcanoes made the whole world dark and cold. Ice covered entire continents. Each time life found a way to survive. When humans finally appeared, we inherited that gift of survival. Quiet talking started in the room. The Korthax ambassador leaned forward. Her translator whispered to her quickly. Jake's voice stayed calm and steady. "Our species did not evolve as the strongest hunter. We were prey. For millions of years, other animals hunted us. Big cats with long teeth, giant bears, huge hyenas. We survived not because we were strong. We survived because we could think." The Vraxian moved uncomfortably. This idea was strange to a species that had always been the top predator on their world. Jake kept talking. "We learned to work together. We learned to share complex ideas with words. We learned to plan months ahead of time. We made tools and weapons from rocks and wood. We learned to throw things with deadly accuracy. No other species on Earth could match us at throwing." Coordinator Vesh glowed brightly. "Interesting, but many species in the galaxy use tools. Many species work together. What makes humans unique? What makes you special?" Jake waited before answering. He wanted his words to have more impact. "Our endurance. Humans are persistence hunters. We can track prey for days without stopping. Our bodies are built for running long distances. No other species on Earth can match us for this. We cool our bodies by sweating. This is very efficient. It lets us keep moving when other predators must stop and rest." He pulled up more images. The screen showed human marathon runners. It showed people running hundreds of miles without stopping. It showed ancient hunters in Africa who simply followed an animal until it fell down from being too tired. Jake spoke quietly now. "But there is something else. Something that makes us different from every predator in the galaxy. We took the top predator of our world and made it our friend." He showed a picture of a wolf. Then he showed many pictures of how wolves slowly became dogs over thousands of years. The whole room became completely silent. Jake explained more. "We took wolves. They were pack hunters that competed with us for food and territory. We turned them into our companions, our partners, our friends. We share our homes with creatures that could kill us. We did this because we built a bond that goes beyond hunter and prey. It goes beyond fear." The Vraxian spoke. Its voice was uncertain for the first time. "You claim you made predators obey you?" Jake shook his head. "Not obey, partner. There is a big difference. Dogs did not become our slaves. They became our companions. We hunt together. We protect each other. We share feelings. We love each other. It is a relationship based on respect and care." Thelnara, the Korthax ambassador, spoke for the first time. This has never happened before in galactic history. No species has successfully brought a competing predator into its social group. Most would simply kill the competition. Jake nodded. That is exactly why we are here. Humanity does not want to conquer or destroy. We want to cooperate. We want to build. We want to explore. We have learned through millions of years that cooperation is stronger than trying to control everything. Coordinator Vesh pulsed with light, thinking deeply. You make a good argument, Commander Morrison. But words are easy. Anyone can talk. We must see proof of human ability. The Council will think about your request to join us, while we think you will stay on the station as our guest. Jake nodded his agreement. As he left the room, he could feel many alien eyes watching him. The future of all humanity hung in the balance. He knew the real test was still coming. Whatever the Council decided to do next would determine if Earth would join the stars or remain alone. Walking through the station's corridors, Jake thought about everything he had said. He thought about Earth and its long, hard history. He thought about the humans who had come before him, the hunters who ran for days, the thinkers who made the first tools, the people who first looked at a wolf and saw not an enemy, but a possible friend. All of human history had led to this moment. Every struggle, every triumph, every lesson learned through pain and effort. Now it was up to him to show these aliens what humanity truly meant, not through weapons or threats, but through understanding and cooperation, just as humans had always done when they were at their best. 3 days passed since Jake's presentation to the Council. He was called back to the meeting chamber. This time everything felt different. The air was tense. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something important to happen. Coordinator Vesh spoke without any greeting or warm words. Commander Morrison, the Council has reviewed your species and what you told us. Some members still do not believe you. They are not convinced, so we are using an ancient rite, the trial by combat. Jake's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He had read about trial by combat in the database. It was an old tradition among warrior species, a way to prove worth through fighting skill and strength. What are the rules? Jake asked. The huge Vraxian ambassador stood up. Its massive body made shadows across the room. You will face 3 challenges, human. First, you will fight a Vraxian warrior in combat. Just you and the warrior. Second, you will survive the gauntlet of 1,000 cuts. Third, you will face the Korthak strategy maze. If you succeed in all 3, your species will get provisional membership. If you fail, Earth will be marked as unworthy for the next 1,000 years. Jake took a deep breath. He could not back down now. The future of humanity depended on what happened in the next few hours. I accept, he said simply. The first fight happened in the station's combat arena. It was a huge circular space where gravity and terrain could change. Jake was given basic armor and a long staff. These were standard for council trials. His opponent was named Krixtal. The Vraxian warrior stood almost 8 feet tall. It had 4 arms. Each arm ended in sharp claws like knives. When the match started, Krixtal charged forward very fast. Its claws flashed in the bright arena lights. The claws aimed for Jake's throat. But Jake had not wasted his 3 days of waiting. He had studied Vraxian body structure. He learned how they move. He found their strengths and weaknesses. Instead of moving back, Jake dove forward and to the side. He rolled under the Vraxian's attack. His staff whipped out fast. It hit the joint of the creature's back left leg. The Vraxian stumbled but got up quickly. It spun around with surprising speed for something so big. The battle became like a dance. Krixtal had raw power and speed, but Jake had endurance and smart tactics. He led the Vraxian warrior on a chase around the arena. He never stayed in one place. He kept moving all the time. He forced his opponent to use up energy with each attack and charge. 10 minutes into the fight, something amazing happened. Krixtal, the perfect predator, started to get tired. Its movements became slower and less precise. Meanwhile, Jake's breathing was steady and controlled. His human endurance was showing itself. In the viewing gallery, the Vraxian ambassador leaned forward. Its mouth parts clicked in disbelief. No opponent had ever made a Vraxian warrior tired before. Jake saw his chance. Krixtal charged one more time, but slower now. Jake planted his staff firmly on the ground. He used it to jump over the warrior's head. While in the air, he grabbed one of the creature's antennae. He used his momentum to swing himself onto Krixtal's back. Before the Vraxian could react, Jake had his staff pressed against the weak spot where the creature's head connected to its body. Yield, Jake said quietly. For a long moment, Crixtal did not move. Then slowly the warrior raised one claw. This was the traditional way to give up. The arena filled with surprised talking from all the watching aliens. Jake helped Crixtal stand up. The Vraxian warrior looked at him with what might have been respect. You fight with honor, human. Your endurance is remarkable. I have never been outlasted in combat before. Your strength is impressive, Jake replied. I just used different tactics. The second challenge was designed to test pain tolerance and mental strength. Jake was placed in a special chamber. He would be hurt with things that got more and more intense, both physical pain and psychological pressure. The goal was to stay awake and thinking clearly for as long as possible. What the council did not know was that humans had a special relationship with pain and hard times. Throughout human history, people had suffered terrible things and come out stronger. Arctic explorers who survived freezing cold, desert people who lived in burning heat, people who survived torture, athletes who pushed their bodies past normal limits. Humans had shown an almost supernatural ability to push through suffering. Jake used this human legacy. The chamber filled with extreme heat, then freezing cold, then confusing sounds and flashing lights. He focused his mind. He thought of marathon runners who hit the wall of exhaustion and kept going. He thought of soldiers in war, injured but still fighting. He thought of parents who stayed awake for days taking care of sick children. Most species collapsed after 15 minutes. Jake stayed standing after an hour. When his body screamed for rest, he kept his mind sharp. He recited poetry in his head. He solved math problems. He did anything to stay mentally engaged. After 2 hours, the council stopped the test. Jake stumbled out of the chamber. He was beaten up but not broken. The old record for the gauntlet was 45 minutes. He had done more than twice that much. Coordinator Vesh pulsed with what looked like approval. Impressive, Commander, but you still faced the third challenge. The Korthak strategy maze was a holographic simulation. It tested tactical thinking, seeing patterns, and solving problems in new ways. People taking the test got a series of scenarios that got harder and harder. Each one needed a different approach. Jake entered the maze knowing this might be the most important test. Physical skills could be improved with technology, but strategic thinking showed the true worth of a species in the galactic community. The first scenarios were simple. Problems about dividing resources, tactical war simulations, diplomatic talks. Jake handled them well. He used his military training and the wisdom of human strategists throughout history, but as the maze continued, the scenarios became stranger and more creative. Problems that needed not just logic but imagination, challenges that required thinking in ways that broke normal rules. This was where human creativity really showed. While other species solved problems using established methods, humans had a long history of thinking differently. Ancient generals who won battles through tricks and surprises. Modern scientists who made discoveries by questioning basic assumptions. Humanity had always been good at thinking outside normal boundaries. Jake approached each scenario with fresh eyes. He refused to be limited by what should work. Instead, he focused on what could work. He used psychological warfare in a resource game. He made peace by finding a shared threat instead of making compromises. He solved an impossible game by changing the rules. Ambassador Thelnara watched from the observation deck. Her 6 eyes were wide. The human was not just solving the maze. He was solving it in ways the Korthaks had never thought of. Ways that showed blind spots in their own strategic thinking. When Jake finally came out of the maze, he was exhausted, but successful. He had completed all 30 levels. He was the first person ever to do this without using the emergency exit. Coordinator Vesh glowed brightly. Commander Jake Morrison, you have passed all 3 trials. The council will now discuss your species and vote. As Jake left the arena, he knew the real test was just starting. He had proven humans were capable. Now he had to prove humans had good character. That would be even harder. Jake had just returned to his room when alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red emergency lights filled the hallways with an ominous glow. His communicator made a crackling sound and a voice came through. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. We have a code black situation in Sector 7. Jake ran toward the command center. There he found Coordinator Vesh working with security forces. The ancient being's energy field flickered with worry and fear. What is happening? Jake asked. Containment breach in the alien biology wing, Vesh replied. Its voice was grim. A Ravager has escaped from the secure facility. Jake felt his blood turn cold. He had read about Ravagers in the Council database. They were the ultimate predators from a death world called Krell 9. These creatures existed only to hunt and kill. A single Ravager had once killed everyone in a colony of 2,000 beings before it was captured. There is worse news, Vesh continued. There were 23 students on a tour of the facility when the breach happened. They are trapped in the observation area. The Ravager stands between them and the only way out. The Vraxian security chief was a huge warrior named Zarketh. He shook his head. We cannot save them. The Ravager will kill anyone who goes into that sector. Our only choice is to seal the section and vent it to space. That will kill the students, Jake said with protest in his voice. It will save the rest of the station. Zarketh replied coldly. This is the protocol. This is what we must do. Jake looked at the tactical display screen. The students had blocked the doors with furniture to keep the Ravager out. But the creature was tearing through the doors piece by piece. They had maybe 10 minutes before it reached them. Give me 5 minutes, Jake said. Vesh pulsed with surprise. You cannot be serious, Commander. A Ravager is not like the creatures on your world. It is death itself given physical form. Earth has plenty of deadly creatures, Jake replied, and we learned to survive them all. Give me 5 minutes to try. If I fail, you can do your protocol. There was a moment of tense silence. Then Coordinator Vesh pulsed in agreement. 5 minutes, Commander Morrison. May your gods protect you. Jake grabbed a plasma rifle and 2 stun grenades from the weapons room. Then he ran toward Sector 7. As he ran, his mind worked fast. He thought about everything he knew about Ravagers. They were ambush hunters. They used their color-changing skin to blend into any place. They could move with incredible speed when attacking. They were almost impossible to hurt. Their skin was like armor that could stop most weapons. But they were also solitary hunters. They had evolved in a place where working together meant competing for food. They did not hunt in packs. They did not coordinate with others. They were the ultimate example of individual hunting skill, and that was their weakness. Jake reached Sector 7. He immediately turned on his communicator and connected to the command frequency. I need everyone with a weapon to come to Sector 7, but do not attack the Ravager. I repeat, do not attack. Just make noise. Move around. Be visible. Are you insane? Zarketh's voice came through the speaker. You will attract it to you. That is exactly what I want, Jake replied. Within 90 seconds, 15 security people had taken positions around the sector. They created a circle of noise and movement. Jake stood in the center, making himself the most obvious target. The Ravager appeared without warning. It came out of the shadows like a nightmare made real. It was even bigger than Jake expected. Easily 12 feet tall with 6 limbs. Each limb ended in claws shaped like blades. Its many eyes focused on Jake with pure hunting instinct. Jake stood his ground. He looked into the creature's eyes. In that moment, he used millions of years of human evolution. The prey species that had learned to face predators. The hunters who had outlasted every creature that tried to kill them. Come on, Jake said quietly. Let's see what you can do. The Ravager charged. Jake threw the first stun grenade. He did not throw it at the creature. He threw it at the wall beside it. The explosion and bright flash of light made the Ravager flinch and change direction. Jake was already running, leading it away from the trapped students. The security people followed Jake's earlier instructions. They created a maze of movement and sound. Every time the Ravager tried to focus on Jake, another distraction pulled its attention away. The creature's hunting instincts were perfect for stalking one target, but they became confused by many targets. Jake led the Ravager on a chase through the sector. He never stayed in one spot. He kept moving constantly. The creature was faster in short bursts, but Jake's endurance kept him ahead. He could feel his lungs burning. His legs were screaming in pain, but he pushed through. 2 minutes passed. The students were being moved out through a secondary door. 3 minutes. The Ravager was beginning to show signs of confusion and anger. Its attacks were becoming more random and less controlled. 4 minutes. Jake's communicator buzzed. The students were safe. Now came the hard part. Jake needed to trap the Ravager without killing it. These creatures were endangered. The Council took their protection very seriously even when they were dangerous. Jake led the creature into a cargo bay with only one exit. As the Ravager followed him inside, Jake threw his second stun grenade, this time directly at the creature. The blast stunned it just long enough for Jake to roll past it and press the emergency containment button. The field turned on. It created an energy barrier that trapped the Ravager inside the bay. The creature roared. It threw itself against the barrier, but the barrier held strong. Jake collapsed against the wall. His chest was heaving as he tried to breathe. He had done it. The students were safe. The Ravager was contained and alive. When he returned to the command center, the council members were waiting. Coordinator Vesh pulsed with an emotion Jake could not identify. That was extraordinary, Commander. You used tactics we have never seen before. Coordination between team members. Misdirection to confuse the enemy. Endurance to outlast the threat. You turned the Ravager's strengths into weaknesses. Ambassador Thelnara stepped forward. Her expression was thoughtful, and you did it without killing the creature. You could have used deadly force, but you chose to contain it instead. This shows wisdom beyond simple survival. The Vraxian ambassador had been quiet until now. Crystal clicked its mouthparts in approval. You saved lives at great personal risk, including the lives of species that are not your own. This is true honor. But the next speaker surprised Jake most. A small, timid-looking alien with large eyes stepped forward. It was a Quilith, one of the most peaceful species in the galaxy. Commander Morrison, my daughter was among the students you saved. You risked your life for beings you did not know, for species you had just met. This is the true measure of a species worthy of the stars. Jake felt strong emotion rising in his chest. This was why humanity wanted to join the galactic community, not for power or resources, but for the chance to be part of something bigger than themselves. Thank you, Jake said simply, but I only did what any human would do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. It is who we are. The council chamber had never been this crowded before. Word of Jake's rescue mission had spread throughout the entire station. Representatives from dozens of species had asked permission to watch the vote. Even those who had first dismissed humanity were now curious about these strange persistence hunters who had done something impossible. Jake stood in the center of the room as Coordinator Vesh called everyone to order. His uniform was freshly cleaned, but he could still feel phantom pains from his battle with the Ravager. The council will now vote on humanity's application for membership. Each representative will have the chance to explain their position before they vote. The Vraxian ambassador spoke first. Crystal rose to its full impressive height. For a moment, Jake wondered if the vote would be good or bad. I have studied the human species carefully since Commander Morrison arrived here. What I have learned has changed my understanding of what it means to be strong. The room became silent. Every being listened closely to the Vraxian's words. On my world, we value individual strength above everything else. The strongest warrior gets the most resources, the best territory, the highest status. We have built a society based on the idea that might makes right. Crixtal paused. Its mouthparts clicked thoughtfully, but humans have shown us a different kind of strength. They are not the fastest. They are not the strongest. They do not have the best armor. Yet they have conquered their world and reached for the stars. How? Through cooperation, through persistence, through willingness to sacrifice for those weaker than themselves. The Vraxian ambassador turned to look directly at Jake. Commander Morrison defeated me in combat. Not through superior strength, but through superior strategy. He saved those students not because he had to, but because he chose to. These are the traits of a species that will make the galaxy stronger, not weaker. The Vraxian collective votes yes. Surprised whispers filled the room. The Vraxians had never before supported a species they thought was physically weaker than them. Ambassador Thelnara of the Korthax spoke next. Her 6 eyes gleamed with smart analysis. The Korthax have always valued strategic thinking and the ability to adapt. In our history, we have faced extinction 17 times. Each time we survived through careful planning and the ability to change with circumstances. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed Jake's performance in the strategy maze. Commander Morrison did not just complete our maze. He solved problems in ways that showed flaws in our own thinking. He approached challenges from angles we had never considered. This is the mark of a species with mental flexibility that will help the entire council. Thelnara's voice showed excitement. This was unusual for the normally calm Korthax. But more than that, Humans have shown the ability to think beyond their own immediate interests. They form partnerships. They build networks. They create systems that help everyone, not just themselves. The Korthax Dominion votes yes. One by one, the other ambassadors spoke. The Quileth representative told the story of her daughter's rescue. Tears flowed down her face as she voted. The crystalline silicates praised human creativity and cleverness. The water-dwelling deep swimmers honored human ability to adapt to environments, but not every vote was yes. The hierarchs, a species that valued strict social order, voted against humanity. They said humans were too chaotic and unpredictable. The perfectionists, beings that had engineered themselves to be flawless, rejected humans as too prone to mistakes and emotions. When all votes were counted, the result was close but clear. Humanity had been accepted for temporary membership in the Galactic Council. Coordinator Vesh pulsed with satisfaction. Commander Jake Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to the stars. You will serve a trial period of 10 cycles. During this time, your species will be watched and evaluated for full membership. Jake felt relief wash over him. But Vesh was not finished speaking. However, there is one thing we must discuss. Commander, are you aware of the pack bond protocols? Jake frowned. I do not know that term, Coordinator. In your presentation, you spoke of how humans took wolves and formed bonds with them. This ability, this pack bond as we call it, is something we must talk about in detail. Vesh pulled up a holographic display. It showed various Earth animals. Dogs, cats, horses, even farm animals and hunting birds. Humans have formed bonds with dozens of species on their world, predators and prey, even creatures that serve no practical purpose. You keep them in your homes. You care for them when they are sick. You feel sadness when they die. This has never happened before in galactic history. Ambassador Thelnara stepped forward. Her expression was serious. Commander, what you may not realize is that this ability has deep implications. There are species in the galaxy that are dangerous, aggressive, and hard to work with. Species that we have been unable to bring into the Council because they cannot cooperate with others. Jake began to understand where this conversation was going. You want humans to form pack bonds with other species? He said slowly. Not just other species, Coordinator Vesh corrected. We want to understand how this bond works, how you take a predator that should be your enemy and turn it into your ally. If this ability can be taught or shared, it could change the galaxy. Crixtal clicked its mouthparts in agreement. The Vraxians have tried for centuries to tame the predators on our world. We have failed every time. Yet humans succeeded with wolves, one of the most dangerous pack hunters on Earth. How? Jake thought carefully before answering. It is not about control or force. The pack bond is based on mutual respect, trust, and affection. Wolves became dogs because they chose to, because working with humans helped them as much as it helped us. But how do you build that trust? Thelnara asked with urgency. How do you convince a predator that partnership is better than competition? Patience, Jake replied. Understanding. Empathy. You have to see the world from the other creature's perspective. You have to recognize they have their own needs, wants, and fears, and you have to be willing to meet them halfway. He gestured to all the aliens gathered in the room. The same principles apply here. I did not defeat Crixtal through humiliation. I did not solve the strategy maze by proving Korthak's methods wrong. I did not rescue those students to show human superiority. In each case, I tried to understand, to adapt, to find common ground. Coordinator Vesh pulsed thoughtfully. Then perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy is not your endurance or your adaptability or your strategic thinking. Perhaps it is your ability to form connections across the boundaries that divide species. Jake smiled. That is our hope, Coordinator. Humans have always been at our best when we work together, when we build bridges instead of walls, when we see possible friends instead of certain enemies. Then let us test that hope, Vesh said. Commander Morrison, humanity's first task from the Council is to make contact with the Fenrir clans. A shocked silence fell over the room. The Fenrir were legendary, a species of massive wolf-like creatures known for their ferocity and their absolute refusal to work with any other species. Every attempt at contact had ended in violence. You want me to make first contact with aliens that look like wolves, Jake said. He could not keep the irony out of his voice. If any species can succeed, it is yours, Vesh replied. You have already proven you can form bonds with wolves on Earth. Perhaps you can do it again on a galactic scale. Jake took a deep breath. This was it. The real test of whether humanity belonged among the stars. "When do I leave?" he asked. The journey to Fenrir space took 3 weeks. This gave Jake time to study everything the Council had about the species. What he learned was both interesting and worrying. The Fenrir were the ultimate predators from a harsh ice world called Vargheim. They stood 8 feet tall at the shoulder when on all 4 legs. They had powerful jaws, sharp senses, and pack hunting instincts that made them dangerous opponents. They had developed space travel on their own. They had expanded to several star systems, but they always stayed isolated from other species. Every attempt at contact had followed the same pattern. The Fenrir would meet with ambassadors. They would listen to proposals for trade or cooperation. Then they would politely but firmly refuse. If the ambassadors kept pushing, the Fenrir would become hostile. Several diplomats had been killed when things got out of control. The Council had decided that the Fenrir were simply too aggressive and territorial. They could not be part of galactic society. They were left alone. A powerful but isolated species that posed no threat, as long as no one entered their space. Jake suspected the Council had made a basic error in their approach. They had treated the Fenrir as individuals to negotiate with. But the Fenrir were pack animals. They needed to be understood, not just negotiated with. His ship was called the Pathfinder. It was a small diplomatic vessel. It came out of hyperspace at the edge of Fenrir territory. Within minutes, 3 Fenrir patrol ships surrounded him. Their weapons were charged but not locked on target yet. A deep, growling voice came through the communication system. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Fenrir space without permission. State your purpose or be destroyed." Jake took a breath. He responded in the Fenrir language, which he had spent 3 weeks learning. "My name is Jake Morrison. I am human. I come seeking to learn about the Fenrir people. I want to share knowledge of my own species." There was a long pause. Then the voice responded, this time in standard galactic language. "The hostility was less. You speak our tongue. That is unusual for outsiders. Most do not bother to learn." "I believe understanding begins with language," Jake replied. "I cannot know your people if I cannot speak to you in your own words." Another pause. This one was shorter. "You may approach Vargheim, but you will be escorted. Any hostile action will result in immediate destruction. Do you understand?" "I understand. I come in peace. I offer no threat to your people." The patrol ships guided Jake to Vargheim. It was a frozen world of ice and rock. As they went down through the atmosphere, Jake could see huge cities carved into glaciers. The buildings were both beautiful and practical. The Fenrir had adapted to their harsh world with remarkable skill. He was taken to meet the alpha of the local pack, a massive Fenrir with silver-gray fur named Skull. The meeting happened in a great hall carved from ice. Dozens of Fenrir warriors watched from the shadows. Skull looked at Jake with intelligent eyes. They reminded him eerily of the wolves he had known on Earth. "You are small. Your species is not built for hunting, yet you have traveled through space to reach our world. Explain this contradiction." Jake smiled. "On my world, we have a saying. It is not the size of the hunter that matters. It is the size of the fight and the hunter that counts." Skull's ears moved up with interest. "An interesting philosophy. Tell me more about your world." Over the next several hours, Jake told the story of humanity. He spoke of Earth's harsh conditions, the endless cycle of death and rebirth, the evolution of humans from prey to predator, through cooperation and tool use. He talked about how humans had learned to work together in groups, forming tribes and then entire civilizations. And then he told them about wolves and dogs. The Fenrir listened carefully as Jake described how humans and wolves had come together thousands of years ago. How the partnership had helped both species. How wolves became dogs, companions and friends rather than competitors and threats. He showed them videos, dogs working with humans, playing with human children, sleeping peacefully in human homes, search and rescue dogs, therapy dogs, working dogs of all kinds. When he finished, Skull was silent for a long moment. Then the Alpha spoke. His voice was thoughtful. "You took creatures that were like us. You made them part of your pack. Not as servants, not as slaves, as equals, as family," Jake corrected gently. Skull stood and began pacing. Jake recognized this behavior from wolves thinking about a decision. "The other species of the galaxy have tried to negotiate with us. They offer trade, partnerships, treaties, but they do not understand. We are not merchants or politicians. We are pack hunters. We think in terms of family, territory, and honor. The Alpha turned to face Jake directly. You are the first outsider who seems to understand this. You speak of bonds and family. You show respect for our ways. But words are easy. How do I know you truly understand? Jake thought carefully. This was the important moment. Among wolves on Earth, trust is built through shared experience, through hunting together, protecting each other, facing challenges as one. Perhaps the same is true here. You propose we hunt together? Skull's tone showed doubt. You are not built for hunting, human. No, Jake agreed. Not your kind of hunt. But perhaps I can show you a human hunt, the hunt of persistence. Jake found himself on the frozen plains of Vargheim with Skull and a dozen Fenrir warriors. Their prey was a massive ice beast called a Glassihorn, a creature that could run very fast but had limited endurance. The Fenrir normally hunted Glassihorns through ambush, using their speed to bring down the creature in a sudden attack. But Jake proposed something different. We will track it. When it runs, we follow. Not fast, but steady. We do not let it rest. We keep moving. We keep the pressure on. Eventually it will tire. Then you can make your kill. The Fenrir were doubtful, but they agreed to try. They found a Glassihorn and began the chase. The beast ran. Jake kept moving behind it, following its tracks in the snow. The Fenrir could have easily caught up, but they held back, matching Jake's steady pace. Hours passed. The Glassihorn would run, stop to rest, see the hunter still coming, and run again. Jake kept moving. His breath stayed steady despite the thin air and bitter cold. He had trained for this. He had prepared his body for the harsh conditions of Vargheim. The Fenrir watched with growing amazement. The human simply refused to stop. He moved with steady determination, never rushing but never resting. His endurance was unlike anything they had seen from such a small creature. After 6 hours, the Glassihorn was stumbling. It was exhausted beyond the ability to run.
Skull made the kill.
A clean strike that honored the prey. Then the Alpha turned to Jake. Respect was clear in his eyes. I understand now. You are not a sprinter like us. You are a marathon runner. You do not chase prey down quickly. You outlast them. This is a form of hunting we never considered. Jake nodded. He was too tired to speak much. Different strengths, he managed to say. Same goal. That night, Jake was invited to share the meal with Skull's pack. As they ate the meat around a fire, the Fenrir asked questions about Earth, about humans. About the pack bond, Skull finally asked the question that had been building all evening. Why do you want us to join your Galactic Council? What do you gain from it? The galaxy is vast, Jake replied. It has wonders and dangers beyond counting. Some species excel at strategy. Others are powerful warriors. Some are masters of art and culture. Every species has something unique to offer. He looked around at the Fenrir by the fire. The Fenrir are the finest pack hunters in the galaxy. You understand loyalty, family, and honor in ways others do not. These are valuable. And if humanity can teach anything, it is that pack bonds can go beyond one species. You could be part of a larger pack, one that spans the stars. Skull was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. His voice was thoughtful. You speak of a pack that includes many species. This is hard to imagine. Our instincts tell us that only Fenrir can truly be pack. Wolves on Earth thought the same thing, Jake said. Until they met humans who understood pack behavior, who respected the hierarchy, who shared the hunt and the kill. The pack bond is not about changing who you are. It is about extending your family to include those who share your values. One of the younger Fenrir spoke up. His name was Hadi. But what if the pack is threatened? What if joining this council means we must fight alongside those we do not know, trust those we have not hunted with? Then you build trust through shared experience, Jake replied. The same way we built trust today, through challenges faced together, through victories celebrated as one, through losses mourned as family. He pulled out his data screen. He showed them footage of human soldiers from different nations working together. International rescue teams saving lives regardless of where people were from. People from very different cultures forming deep friendships. Humans learned long ago that the strongest packs can bring in new members while keeping the bonds that hold them together. We fight not because we are the same. We fight because we share common goals and values. Skull stood and walked to the edge of the firelight. He looked up at the stars. Jake joined him, standing in comfortable silence. What you offer is both terrifying and exciting. To leave our isolation, to join with others. To form bonds with species we have never met. It goes against every instinct we have developed over millions of years. I know, Jake replied. Humans face the same fear when we first met alien life. We wondered if we would be accepted. If we could find common ground. If the risks were worth the rewards. And what did you decide? Skull asked. Jake smiled. That the universe is too big and too wonderful to face alone. That there is strength in diversity. That a pack of different species, each bringing their unique abilities and views, is stronger than any single species could ever be. Skull was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to face Jake. In his eyes was a decision. The Fenrir will consider your proposal, but we will not give an answer right away. This is too important to rush. We must talk with the other alphas. Debate among ourselves. Think about all the implications. I understand, Jake said. Take whatever time you need. The council will wait, but, Skull continued, I can tell you this. You have shown us something we thought was impossible. You have shown us that pack bonds can cross species boundaries. That cooperation does not require us to give up our nature. That there is honor in extending our family beyond those who share our blood. The alpha placed a massive paw on Jake's shoulder. Among Fenrir, this meant deep respect. Whatever we decide, Jake Morrison, know that you have earned the respect of the Fenrir. You understand us in a way no outsider ever has. You are, in our eyes, an honorary member of the pack. Jake felt strong emotion in his chest. This was more than a diplomatic victory. This was a real connection between species. A bond that went beyond politics and treaties. Thank you, Alpha Skull, the honor is mine. Jake stayed on Vargheim for another 2 weeks. He learned about Fenrir culture. He shared stories of Earth. He built relationships with individual pack members. He hunted with them. He trained with them. He was even allowed to see a pack bonding ceremony, a sacred ritual rarely shown to outsiders. When it was time to leave, the entire pack gathered to see him off. Skull gave him a gift, a carved piece of ice crystal that would never melt, a symbol of the bond they had formed. We will send our answer to the council within the next cycle, but I suspect you already know what that answer will be. I hope so. Alpha. The galaxy will be stronger with the Fenrir as part of it. As the Pathfinder lifted off from Vargheim, Jake looked back at the frozen world and the Fenrir gathered below. He thought about the journey that had brought him here. From the trials of the council to the rescue of the students to this moment of real connection, humanity had proven itself worthy of the stars. Not through being better or superior, but through empathy, cooperation, and willingness to see possible allies where others saw only threats. The pack bond that humans had formed with wolves millions of years ago was now reaching across the galaxy. It was bringing together species that had never dreamed of cooperation. And this was just the beginning. 3 months later, Jake stood once again in the council chamber. But this time he was not alone. Beside him stood Alpha Skull and a group of Fenrir warriors. Coordinator Vesh pulsed with satisfaction. Today marks a historic moment. The Fenrir clans have agreed to join the Galactic Council. They are the first species to do so in over 200 cycles. The chamber filled with applause and various alien expressions of approval. But Skull raised a paw for silence. We joined not because we were conquered or convinced through logic. We joined because the humans showed us that pack bonds can go beyond one species. They proved that cooperation is not weakness, that diversity is strength, that family can include those who are different from us. Skull turned to Jake. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the fastest or the most intelligent, but they have something unique. The ability to form bonds across boundaries that others think cannot be crossed. They see possible allies where others see only threats. They build bridges where others build walls. The Alpha's voice grew stronger. It carried to every corner of the room. This is why even the galaxy's deadliest creatures respect humans, not from fear or duty, but from respect, because humans understand something basic that many have forgotten. True strength comes not from standing alone, but from knowing when to stand together. As the council session ended and ambassadors talked, Jake found himself surrounded by representatives from dozens of species, all wanting to learn more about humanity's pack bond philosophy. Ambassador Thelnara came forward with several Korthax scholars. Commander Morrison, we would like to study this pack bond in detail. If humans can teach other species to form such bonds, it could change galactic diplomacy forever. Crixtal, the Vraxian warrior Jake had fought in the arena, came forward. My species wants to learn as well. We have spent too long thinking strength means only individual power. Perhaps it is time we learned the strength of the pack. Even the species that had voted against humanity were now thinking differently. The hierarchs sent a message asking for a meeting. The perfectionists wanted to study how humans work together despite their flaws. Jake smiled as he looked around the room. This was what humanity had to offer the galaxy. Not conquest or control, but connection. Not superiority, but partnership. Not erasing differences, but celebrating diversity within unity. Later that evening, Jake stood on a viewing deck looking out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the long journey of human evolution from prey to hunter to explorer of space. He thought about the dogs that had walked beside humans for thousands of years, the first pack bond that had set humanity on this path, and he thought about the future. About a galaxy where pack bonds connected species across impossible distances, where the deadliest creatures worked together instead of against each other, where diversity was seen as strength rather than weakness. Alpha Skull joined him at the window. Both of them looked out at the endless space. "What are you thinking, Jake Morrison?" Jake smiled. "I am thinking that the pack is growing, and that together we can face whatever the universe has waiting for us." Skull's eyes gleamed in the starlight. Together, as it should be. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the pack sent up its call, a sound that echoed across the galaxy and promised a future brighter than any one species could build alone.